Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's tutorial, I am going to show you how to build a simple but powerful image editor app using Kivy and Python. So we'll cover how to load images, rotate them with the slider, crop images by dragging the selection box, and save the edited image, all with one easy to understand code. So whether you're a beginner or looking to level up your Kivy skills, this step-by-step guide will get you there. So let's dive right in. So firstly, let's begin by importing all the necessary classes. So the first class we'll import is from from Kivy.app. So this is the base app class that is required to create and run the application. All right, and then let's also import some UIX that we're going to need. So we'll need a box layout, an image widget as well. We'll need a button widget, a slider. So everything that we'll need to make our image editor. So let's go on and import those. Right, we've imported all our widgets. All right, so now what we want to do is we also want to import graphics as well. When we crop the image, we want to select an area. So we're going to use graphics for that. And lastly, we want to import PIL, which is pillow. It's a module which will allow us to open and manipulate and save images, and also will import OS as well, which will help us with the managing the directories and the paths to those images. Okay, we have all our imports. Now let's go on and have our app class. Let's call it image editor app. For now, let's just return a button with text saying hello. Let's now run and see what we have. Okay, amazing. So far, so good. All right, so now that our app class is fine, let us go on and create a new class. And this class, we'll call it image editor. We can make it a box layout. Let's initialize it. Okay, so now we have initialized it. So now what we'll need to do is we'll just need to define a few variables. So we will need to define a variable for us to be able to see whether we are cropping, whether something's been cropped or not. And also we'll just set up as well some values to store the location of the images. So let's go on and work on that. So firstly, the crop mode, self crop mode. This will show us whether there's any cropping that is happening at the moment. Let's just call it false for now. Right, and then the image path. So this is where we store the image path, where the image is. For now, let's leave it as none. And then also, let's store the original path of the image. And lastly, the modified image. So just to explain one more time, so self current image path, this will store the file path of the current loaded image. So when we're using an image, the image that we're editing basically, this will be the current image path. And then the original image here, this will be the image that is stored this will be the original image that is within our system that is loaded from the disk. And then the modified image will basically be the pillow image object that is reflecting the edited image. So it's what is being cropped, rotated, and that is what we will save into our system. Yes, so if we have all of this, then we're all good. So now let's go on and work on our layout. So to work on our layout, let's first define a few things. So when we upload an image, we wanted to show, we want to see the image, right? So let's go on and create an image widget. For now, let's just make this a button. And then let's give it a text saying this is an image. Okay. So now what we will do is we will add this widget to our box layout. So now instead of returning a button here, let's return this class, image editor class, image editor. Okay, let's go on and test that out. Okay, I think there's a typo. Don't worry, this is normal. So self.image widget. Yes, there we go. This is very normal to happen. Don't panic. All right, amazing. There we go. This is an image. All right, so now we'll just go on and work on our layout. Yes, so I know our layout is so far very boring, so let's make some changes. All right, we have our control layout, which is a box layout. And let's work on some few buttons. We will need a load button. This will allow us to load the image. Let's just say load image. And also let's have a save button where we can use it to save the image after we edit it. Let's call it save image. Maybe let's also have a crop button. And then we can say, for this one, we can just say crop mode. We also need a slider as well, to use the slider to rotate the image. The minimum value can be 0, max 360. Since we're dealing with rotation, current value can be 0. Okay, so we have everything, and now let's go on and add everything into our image box layout. So firstly, we'll take all of these widgets, which is the buttons that we've created in the slider. We'll add it into our control layout. Then we'll add that control layout into our image editor layout, which will also already have this image layout that we have there, or button. So let's go on and do that. So control layout, add widget. So let's just copy this and duplicate it. Load button, save button, crop button, and self rotate slider. Close those, close those, close those. Okay, and now let us add everything into our image editor. So let's just copy it rather to be quicker copying it. Paste there. Now let's display. Let's see. Box layout. Oh yes, sorry, we made a mistake here. It should be size hint y. Size hint y. Okay. Whoa, what else did I make? Oh, slider. Okay. Don't worry, this is pretty much normal. Pretty much normal. Um, just typos should be slider. Okay. Hopefully nothing else now. Perfect. Yes. So we can see the progress now. Things are looking much better. We can see where we're going. Yeah, load image, save image, crop image. Then we're going to use this to rotate. So of course there's no image now. So that's where now we need to work on the actual image files. All right, so far so good. So let's go on and um, yeah, let's go on and just work on now what happens when we press the load button. Yes, so we have our load button. So what we're going to do is we will create a function that we can call from this load button. So in this case, what we want to do is when we press the load image button, we want to we want to go into our system and choose the image that we want to edit. So to do that, let's create, let's say, maybe open file chooser. Instance. All right. So now we'll create a file chooser icon view with filters to show only PNG and JP files, since in this case we just want to edit images. So we can just say content file chooser icon view. Let's have our filters. In this case, the filters, we just want image kind of files. So that being what kind of images you get here, PNG. What else do you get? JPEG, right? JPG, something like that. Yeah, you get files like that. And you also get, yeah, JPEG as well. JPEG. Just remember to put the asterisks there. Okay, yeah, there we go. And then now what we want to do is we want to be able to view everything. So we're going to use a pop-up window. So let's have pop-up. Title. Choose image. Content, yes, size int. All right, yes, so as you can see, we have everything now. So we have everything that we need. So now what we just need to do is we need to get our pop-up to open. So you can just say pop-up, open. There we go. All right, so our pop-up will show our file chooser icon view. And of course, now we need to bind this method to our button so that when we press our button, then we can call that function. So btn bind on release. On release, bind on release, self let's go on and run and check how it goes. Let's see how it goes. Okay, you see there's a typo. Oh yeah, you see the indentation here is not proper. Let's just move it a bit down. Yes, very important there. Indentation. Let's check it out. Okay, amazing. There we go. All right. So as you can see now, when we press the load image, we are able to see our file chooser. We can then navigate to wherever our image is. In this case, I know where my images are. They should be somewhere in downloads. As you can see here, we can see some images. Okay, amazing. So far, so good. So I know that up until now, the only thing maybe that might be still a bit off is we want to edit an image, not a button. So what are we going to do about this? So let's work on that right now. Let's create a new class. So we'll create a new class now. And this is where this is going to be our crop image. So crop image. So this is going to be our image basically. So when we import our image, we will use this class to view that image and edit that image. So let's go on and initialize. So basically what we're doing here is we are defining a custom widget, which we are calling crop image. So this class will inherit from the Kivy image widget. And this widget will handle showing the image, cropping via drag and drop using a red box. Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of code we're going to put here just to ensure that happens, as there's currently no simpler method that I know of that we can use. Okay, all right, now that we have initialized everything, so let's go on and change here. So instead of saying button, let's go on now and edit this. So now it will be our crop image class. So it will be our crop image. And since it's an image, let's define a few parameters. Self allow stretch. We want to be able to stretch the image. Keep ratio true. Okay, so we allow stretch, we keep the ratio as well. Very important. Okay, so let's go on and run that and see if everything is in order. Everything should be okay. So now you can see a white blank space here. Don't worry too much about it. This is good. This is where our image will appear. So let's go on and also work on some variables that will help us to store some data. Firstly, let's have self editor, which is editor. So this reference we'll use to parent the image editor instance for sharing the state and the functions. Don't worry too much about it now. And then we'll also have self crop rectangle. This will help us when we are selecting the area that we want to crop. Okay. And then also self let's just make that none. Yeah. So this will store the initial position, meaning the x and y, where we will be dragging and dropping. So this will help us to be able to cut that specific image and then save it. All right. So now that we have got this in order, actually let's just remove this space so that everything is more visual. Okay, amazing. So now let's go back to our file chooser. So even though we were able to open our file chooser, currently it's not allowing us to load any image. So we need to create a function to load the image. So load image. So this will allow us to be able to load the image that we are selecting. So we don't want to just see where the image is but not be able to do it. So self path. Okay, so to load an image, the first thing is let's save the image file path first, so that we can just have self current image path. So we save the current image path as path whenever we press the load image button, right? And then now what we want to do is we want to now open the image with PIL, and we will then convert the image that we are opening using the PIL module. So we can just self original. Remember, original image is the image that is in our disk. So we're taking the image using PIL image. We open. Just the path to the image, then we convert the image RGBA. Okay, right. And then after that, what we do is, so we open the image, right? And then once the original image is opened, then what we do, we save that image as a modified image. Very important. So what do we say? Self modified image is, let's just take this, copy. Yes. So what do we do here? Just to explain one more time. So we have a current image that we're working on, right? What do? We save that as path. So now what we do is we go to the original image on the system, right? And then we convert it and save it as a modified image. Yes. So when we are editing, right, we are not editing the original image. The original image stays as it is, but we editing basically this modified image. All right. I hope that makes sense. And then, so we haven't started working yet on the rotation, so we'll come back here later. But for now, let us also have another function which will allow us now to update the display based on the image that we have loaded. So let's create a new function here. Let's call it update image display. Image display. Sorry. update image display. So what we're going to do is, so let's have a temporary file name that we can use to display the current image. Let's just call it temp, since it's temporary, temp path. You can just say temp display PNG. Yeah, let's just call it temp display, and let's just have temp display PNG for now. Okay, and then now what we want to do is we will then have our modified image. Save temp path. Okay. So what does this do? What does this do? So what this does is it saves the current modified image to this file, basically that we're calling temp display PNG. Okay. And then now let's also have self image widget source temp. So now what this is doing now is it is pointing the image widget to the temporary file. So we have a temporary file, right? And what we are doing here is we are saving the current modified image to this file. And now here what we are doing is we are pointing to this temp path. And then lastly, what we now do is we image widget reload. So now after that, what do? We reload. Remember this image widget here, it is this image widget here, which we just call our crop image. So if I were to just run it, so I can be more visual here, it's this part here. It's this part here. So what we want to do is when we open file chooser, right, a pop-up appears. We want to select the image and we want the image to appear here. Right? Yes. So let's go on then and create a function here which then makes us to update the display once we have selected the image. So let's say self. Actually, let's just copy this. It's quicker. Self update display. Alright, so this will allow us to update this display. So what we want to do is now, so we want to call these methods within our file chooser. So let's go back here and do some changes. So let's create a function inside. File selected. So we want to basically, when a user selects a file and submits, we want to load that image, right? So we're creating a new function here, chooser selection touch. Then if selection self load image. Then we wanna dismiss the pop-up after we've selected the image. then let's also have a bind method here. Content bind on submit. File selected. Okay, pop the open. Alright, so just to explain what's happening here. So when we open our file chooser, right, it's a pop-up which will have the contents showing us the various icons within our system. So we navigate, and when we select an image, right, it's going to be saved as a selection, which when we press the submit button, the selected file will then be able to load it into our image by calling this function. So that image that we have selected, what will happen is that it will be copied as a self-modified image, and that image will then be updated in our image widget. Yes, let's just see this practically. So let's run it. Okay, so we load image, right? As you can see, we go into our system, right? So you go and locate wherever your image is, you press the image, right? And as you can see, the image is now loaded. Amazing. So we can now load our image. Look at that. Yeah. So for this duration of the tutorial, I'll just be working on this image. So please feel free to work with your own image. All right. As you can see, we are getting somewhere. So how about we start working on our slider here? Yeah. So nothing is happening, of course. So let's go on and work on our slider. Yes. So when we think about our slider, it brings us back to where the slider. Yes, there we go. It brings us back to here. So we have our slider here, which is a widget that we will use to rotate the image. So now what we want to do is we want to work on a new function for it. So let's call this, what can we call it? Maybe on rotate slider. So this is where we'll have our function regarding what happens when we press our slider. So self instance angle. Okay, so this will be called when the rotation slider's value changes, right? So a slider has values from 0 to 360. So whenever the value changes, then this function will be called, which will also update our image. So let's go on and create our methods. So we have the original image here, and what we'll do to this original image, we will rotate the original image by negative angled degrees. So we'll be rotating it basically clockwise. So we'll rotate it clockwise, right? Yes. And so as we are moving the slider from the left to the right, that is how the image will then be rotating clockwise. That is what I mean by negative. Yeah. So let's go on then and have us edit that image into a modified image. Because we don't want to work on the original image. But we just rather taking the image, the original image, and then we are rotating it, expanding it, and then that image becomes the modified image. Very important. Okay, so what are we doing here? So we are rotating the original image by negative angles degrees, and the reason why it's negative because the slider increases what? Clockwise. It increases clockwise. But PIL itself, which is what we are using to manipulate the image, it does it counterclockwise. So that's why we are going negative here. Then once we've done that, let's go on and update the display. So update image display. Okay. All right, let's do it. So we load our image. We will have to keep doing this. Just loading our image. Just know where your image is. My image is here. It's loading the image. Okay, there we go. Okay, let me see here. Yeah, I think I forgot something. Yeah, nothing will happen because we didn't call the function. Where is our slider? Ah, there we go. So remember, we need to actually call the on rotate slider function. So let's just have a binding method that we can use. So we can say, okay, let's just copy this or type it is fine. So we are binding a method, right? And this method, the value will change. The value self on rotate slider. Yes, so the value, right? So whenever the value changes, we will call this function here. And there's also a very important update that we need to make as well. So if we can just go back to our where we load our image. Where is it? Here. Yes. Let's also update there. Self rotate slider value. Let's make it 0. Okay. Yeah. So what this helps us is it helps us with the resetting the value to 0 whenever we open a new image. Let's go and run that. So we load image. Okay. Oh, what do we have here? Oh, there's a typo. Yeah, I forgot an I in line 58. Show my numbers. Original. This always happens, don't worry. Just forgot an I, imagine. Okay. Downloads, load image. I'm sure if you didn't make any typo mistakes, you're probably like ahead of me right now. Oh no, what did I just say angel? Okay, where did I have angel? Okay, I'm sure you guys were laughing at me when I was typing angel in line 59. Okay. Yes. It should be angle, not angel. Okay, hopefully this time nothing else. There's nothing else that's wrong. User, Udel, downloads, image. Come on, man. Come on. Okay, amazing. There we go. We are rotating an image, guys. That's it. We are rotating rotating an image using our slider. Yes, amazing, isn't it? Yeah, so yeah, it's quite good. It's quite good so far. So far, so good. You know what? I'm so excited now that at least, we can rotate the image. Let's at least just know how to save an image so that we can say, I can make an image editor even if it's just rotating the image. Yeah, so let's go on to our save button. Right, so what we'll do is we'll now create a function here or a method that will bind to this button. So what can we call it? Let's just simply stick to calling it save image, since that's what it does. Save image, self instance. All right. So what do we need here? If not self modified image, print no image, true, save. All right, so if there's no image, if there's no image to edit, of course, we can just print, so that we can just remind ourselves we need to actually get the image. All right. Oh yeah, let's also have a return. Yeah. And then let's construct a path to our desktop folder. Desktop path. I know you guys see me type weird. It's so cold, guys. It's so cold. OS path join OS path expand user. Desktop. Okay. Yeah, so this allows us to go to our desktop, right? And then now we want to define the save folder where we're going to save our images. Now, for me, in this case, the folder that I'm going to be using to save the image is this folder here. I've already pre-created it. It's called Kivy images. So please feel free to change the directory based on where you want to save the image. Yes, but for me, that is where I will be saving the image. Yes, so save folder. Desktop path Kivy images. Let's just make these capital letters. Okay, so save folder, OS path, text path, Kivy images. Let's just check. Let's just make sure we named it correctly. Yeah, it's fine. Okay. Yeah, we have it. So please feel free to change that based on where you want to save your files. OS make so what this does here is that it creates a folder if the folder does not exist. So this will help us so that no error occurs. So if you're following this tutorial and maybe you don't have this particular folder, don't worry about it. With this line, it will help you to to create the folder. Okay, then output. Yeah, let's have the output path as SOS path join save folder edited image png. Yeah, so what we want to do now is we want to define the full path for our saved image. Yeah, and then self modified image save output path. Yeah, so what we are doing now is we are saving the edited image to our disk. And lastly, since we are saving the image to our disk, let's go on and also just indicate if this worked well. Let's just say print image saved to. This will allow us to see where our image is saved and will work as an indicator as well, whether our image is saved or not. Okay, so yeah, this is I'm hoping there's no typo here, as I think these days I'm very good at making typo mistakes. Oh, look at me. Look at me. Okay. Yeah, I'm using the, yeah, there you go. Okay, so we load an image, right? Okay, and then we rotate it. Let's just rotate it whichever way. And then, oh, look at me. We need to bind this, right? We need to bind. So, save, bind on release, self, save, image. Yeah, we need to bind it. Yeah, otherwise, nothing will happen. Yeah. Okay, load. Okay, we rotate it, we save the image. So as you can see, the image has been saved to this folder here. So let's go on and check the folder. Yeah, as you can see, the image now is saved in this folder here. There we go. Yeah, this is the image. Yeah, as you can see, it is saved. Amazing. There we go. Now we have a full-fledged image rotator. But that's not what we want. That's what we want. We are almost done, guys. We are almost done. Yes. So now let us go on to our cropping. I believe that is the only part that we still need right now. So firstly, we already have here our self.crop mode. Do you remember what this does? This helps us to indicate whether crop mode is active or not. And then here we have a crop button, right? Yes, but currently this crop button, it doesn't have anything, or it doesn't do anything. it just, yeah, basically has crop mode written on it. So let's go ahead and change that. Let's go on and define a function, and what we'll do here is we can just use this function to enable and disable crop mode. Let's say enable crop mode. Self instance if self modified image. True. Okay, so we have self-modified image, self-crop mode, we're making it true. So what does this mean? So if there is a modified image, we then can activate crop mode when we press the button so that we can crop the image. So let's print crop mode enabled. Drag image on, drag image to select area. I can just have that there. Okay. Yeah, so that's if there is a image, right? And then something that we keep forgetting, let's bind that to this button. So crop on release self. Let's just copy this. Don't wanna type this. Okay. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, crop mode. So suppose we have an image here. Whoa, I went somewhere else. Let's just get back. Image. Right, then we press crop mode. As you can see, crop mode is enabled because there's an image there. So of course nothing happens now. So finally, let's go to our crop image. Now this is where we need to really follow along very well because we're going to be working with quite the code. Yeah, it's quite the code. So far we just have some few things we have here, which is the so currently we just have already three things, which is the image editor, the crop rectangle, and also the start pause as well. Yes. Yeah, so let's go on and work on some functions. So the first function that we want to use is we want to create a function. We can just maybe call it display image position. So this method will help us to calculate the display image exact location. Like when I mean exact, I mean like actually exact location. Yeah, and then the image can then be scaled to fit inside the widget while preserving its aspect ratio. And then after that, we also need to consider that this method it needs to help us to map out where we're touching, the actual coordinates, basically. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot, but we can do it. So let's call it get display image pose size so widget page. size. So this will help us to get the width and the height of the image widget on the screen, right? This is what it does, in case you're wondering. So now we have image w, image texture size. So image w and image h, this helps us to get the original image within height, and that's what we call basically a texture size. And now let us go on and calculate the aspect. So to do that, it's the widget ratio that we want, which will be the widget w divided by the widget h. Yeah, so this gives us the aspect ratio, which we can just call it the widget ratio. Okay, and we also need the image ratio as well. So let's go on and do the same thing. Ratio is img w img h. Right. Yeah, if you thought maths won't haunt you, yeah, it's haunting you now. Yeah, we need to know. Yeah, so we have the ratio here. So this calculates the image ratio. So now what we need to do is we need to determine how to fit the image into the widget by comparing the aspect ratios. So this maintains the image's original proportions while fitting it into the widget box. So how do we do that? So let's have an if statement as we're comparing. So widget ratio, if the widget ratio is greater than the image ratio, then what do you want to do? What you want to do is display h widget h display w image ratio display h. Just to explain what we're doing. So the widget is wider relative to the height than the image. So in this case, if this widget ratio is far greater than the image ratio, what we want to do is we want to make sure that the image height fits within the widget height. So then the width is automatically scaled accordingly as well. So what if things don't work out? Then we have else. Else. Let's just copy this and then we can just edit it. It's quicker. Whoa, what did I do? Undo. So if it doesn't work accordingly, then it will be based on the width instead of the height. So we just change everything into the width here, then the display will be the height, and then this will just be the opposite now, where it will be the display first, so display, and not height anymore, but the width. Then we divide it by the image ratio. Yes, the opposite. We're basically doing it the opposite way. That's how we're doing it now. Yes. So, all right. So now let's go on and then calculate the position, the XY position of the image inside the widget to center it. I did say it's a lot of code, guys. So display x is equal to self pause widget display go on and divide that by 2. Let's just copy this, paste it again. Then let's just change some values. So display y, self course 1, the height 2. Yeah, so what we're doing is, as mentioned before, we're calculating basically the XY position of the image, yeah, inside the widget, and then we are centering it. So we are centering it. Yeah, and then after that, we need to then now return the image to the top left corner coordinates and size of the displayed image. So that's why we're going to say return display x display y display w and display h. Yeah. Okay, so when exactly do we call this function? Yeah, so whenever we are uploading the image, this function we want to call it. Yeah, we want to call this function, which will help us to get the position of the image, of the image as you're editing it. Yes. So there's also another function that we'll just need as well, which will help us to call this function automatically. And what is that? It is on touch. On touch. On touch. Down. Yeah. So whenever we are touching the screen, then this function will be called. Yeah, so once again, it is a lot of code. Please do bear with me. But this will be called continuously. So continuously it will be called, calling this display image function as well. So what will happen is that as the user moves their finger or mouse while holding down, it updates the size and position of the cropping rectangle to follow the drag area basically. So that is what will ultimately. All right, so let's get started. We have it. Okay, so if self editor crop mode and self was and crop rectangle. So basically, what we're saying is that if the crop mode is enabled, right, what we want to do now is we want to be able to select an area on the image. So, and y touch pause start next. Start pause. Yeah. Okay. And now what we want to do is we want to calculate the rectangle boundaries using the minimum and maximum drag coordinates. How do we do that? So if x start x and x. Let's just copy this for quicker so we can be quicker. Whoa, what did I do? Okay. Y So instead of x, y, 1. Okay, now let's work with the width. Okay, let's just copy this and then work on the height. And x, it's going to be y now instead. Okay, so far so good. Yeah, so now what we want to do is we want to update the red crop rectangle's position and size to reflect the drag area. So for that, you can just have crop rectangle cos crop rectangle. Then now let's return true. Yeah. So this So when we select an area, we are able then to get the position and size of the area that we're dragging, and then once we are done, then we have the red box just disappears, and then we then want to return only that portion of image. So that is why what we're going to do now is we're going to return super one touch move touch. So after that we return to the default behavior if the crop mode is not active. That's what we are doing here. So let's continue on. So we have now on touch down. Now we need to work on touch up. Yes, we need to work on touch up. Just to make this quicker, let's just copy this whole thing, because on touch up is basically like the opposite. So we can just say on touch up, self-attach. So if self-editor crop mode, yeah, everything stays the same here. Yeah, let's just keep this everything the same. Let's see. Yeah, let's keep everything the same, nothing to change. Yeah, the only thing that we can change here is, so we want to get the position and size of the displayed image inside the widget. Once we have selected the area, so we want to display the image. So let's go on and fix this. So let's have here display x display y display w display h self get displayed. So we have So what we're doing here, just to explain quickly, we're getting the position and size of the displayed image inside the widget. So we're calling back the function we created just before, which is the get display. What do you call it again? Get display image position size. Yes, want to call that image pos size. So whenever we are on touch up, we want to call that function. So let's go on and run and see how things are looking so far. Yeah, so as you can see, uh, yeah, so as you can see, um, yeah, let's just load something. I'm so sorry about that. Let's just load something and okay. So when we double click on an area, so we enable crop mode, right? And then we double click on an area. Okay, I think we have a bit of an issue here. Let's just go back to our code. I forgot something. I forgot to actually indicate the crop area. So we need to actually have the boundaries where the crop area is that we are selecting. Yes, so it will be a bit distracting at the moment because I'm not really in a best place for recording. So what I'll do is I'll just comment. Yeah, I'll just comment mostly, but then I will speak from time to time whenever I'm able to. But mostly I'll just comment. Yeah, so I think you can just follow along with the comments. Yes, yes, thank you. So that is it. Yeah, thank you. I think that concludes everything. Yeah, please do let me know if you have any questions. Yeah, so as you can see, we do have the file exactly as we wanted it. Yeah, so that's it from my side, and yeah, we'll see each other next time.